Hey Cancer, this is your look at the astrology of January 2021. And my name is Katie Sweetman. I am an astrologer and psychic medium here in Brooklyn, New York. I work under the name Empowering Astrology. You can follow me online at empoweringastrology.com. So let's look at January 2021. And something that I've been saying to all the signs is that no month is sort of this individual standalone month. The astrology it's sort of connected to other months. It's sort of connected to a bigger story that's been unfolding, bigger cycles of time. So we have to look at January in the context of something bigger. And this is, January in a way is an opening to a new chapter that on one level is something new, on another level is not something new, because it brings forward a story that's been brewing for the past 2 years, I guess 3 years at this point, since 2018. So as we go into the new year, Cancer, good luck. I mean, you made it. I mean, you should pound the back, hugs. I know Cancer, you need a lot of hugs right now. It was been a really possibly tough few years. Cancer, Saturn has left your relationship signs, no longer in Capricorn. You had to do a lot of heavy lifting the past few years on really working on connection. Romantic connection, relationships, non-romantic connection. No person is an island, and that was sort of the bigger story the past couple of years. You need other people. And I know, Cancer, you're your sign that in general wants other people. You want to take care of people. You want to nurture people. That said, it's Capricorn season this month for the most part. And so January might feel a little familiar in terms of its themes, these themes around relationship that you have been deeply working on the past couple of years. That said, as I said earlier, Saturn is not in Capricorn anymore. So it's like one of the big hands on your clock now points towards something very different. And I'm going to call it the eighth room. Imagine you have a house. That house has 12 rooms, just like any house has 12 rooms. You live in a 12-room house? I do not live in a 12-room house, but imagine you have a house that has 12 rooms. And there's this one room, the eighth room, that is a necessary room, but it's not an easy room. It's a very psychological room. You go in that room and you have to face yourself. And that's where Saturn is. That's where Saturn is as of December 17th of 2020. And it'll be there for 2 more years. And wherever Saturn is, there's a lot of emphasis and focus, which just means, these bigger 2-3 year chapters that happen for everybody. So as you go into the new year, you've got to face yourself. Maybe there's things that you have been putting off for a long time that are now front and center. It could be the past that you have not dealt with. It could be some sort of old trauma, some old wound. This is not, of course, a judgment. Like, we're all, I'm sure we all have stuff that we need to work on. And when Saturn goes into this part of the chart, I often say, just get a therapist, get a guide, get a counselor. You need somebody to hold your hand a little bit as you do this really deep inner work and inner reflection. So do keep that in mind, because Cancer, you're a sign that feels things very deeply, and you may be feeling things very deeply as you go into 2021. There is what's called a Capricorn new moon. It's going to be on January 13th. It's in your relationship sign, so relationships are going to be a big focus this month again. So the thing that's about this new moon, is that it's in the same exact place in the sky as Pluto. So to use my house metaphor, imagine there is a new moon that's happening in this one room, we'll call it the 7th room, and it's happening in the same place in the room that Pluto is standing. So there's some bigger 13-year story, yeah, I said 13-year story, that talks about needing to completely deconstruct, rebuild, do the really intense plumbing work, and to see, what is it about you in relationships? What is in the way? What is the problem? Yeah, and you're like, oh, okay, everything's fine. But it's possible that there's been some issue with relationships the past decade. And it doesn't have to be romantic relationships. It could be a friend, it could be a boss, it could be a colleague. It's just how you interact with people. How do you use your power? How do you influence people and what have you? So I mention that, even though it means I'm going back in time, because this new moon is like the next page turn of a much bigger story, a 16-year story in total. So really pay attention to the themes that are occurring around this new moon on January 13th, because it's like the next stepping stone in a much bigger story. That said, one of the big things that's happening, there's a lot of big things happening in January. One of the big things that's happening is that Mars finally gets out of Aries, finally gets out of your career sign, where it's been since June. And Mars goes into Taurus. So Taurus for you is about friends. It's about community. It's about social networks, social systems, humanity, these kind of bigger things in life. And Uranus has been in this room since May of 2018, March of 2019. So maybe a lot of new people are coming into your life, a lot of people that are opening your eyes, helping you to see the world differently, getting you involved in social causes that maybe you weren't involved in before. And then now Mars is there, and Mars is, activates things, it energizes things. So there's ideology is going to be a big theme in January for you, this kind of bigger thing around, this part of your chart can be a little political as well. It's like, how do you see the world? What sort of agreements do you think that society should be built on? This part of your chart is about your relationship with society in a way. So Mars is sort of activating that part of your chart. It's activating the friend department. That said, Mars, when it goes into Taurus, it's going to make something called a square to Saturn. So as I said, you're doing a lot of emotional heavy lifting this month. Mars square Saturn traditionally is not a fun aspect. It can really be challenging in many ways, and it's possible that you are seeing some sort of challenge happening between friends or community or groups or something bigger, ideology, the world, and then something deeply emotional. It could be something hidden, could be a secret, it could be something like a conversation with a friend that's very intense or dramatic in some way, and not to be overly dramatic, but just so the possibilities. There's that's happening. Saturn is a relationship planet for you, so there's deeper themes around vulnerability and opening up and being, kind of real and raw and deep in some way. That said, Uranus turns direct on January 14th. It turns direct at 6 degrees of Taurus. So whatever that friendship area story kind of gets bigger in a lower way, maybe it's a little dramatic. Uranus, when it stations, can sometimes be a little eye-opening and kind of can open our eye, so not to repeat myself, it'd be an awakening of some way, because Uranus just wants something new. It's probably saying to you that it's time for new friends, or it's time for people that are actually real friends, as opposed to maybe something that's been happening up until now, or maybe groups or alliances that are very different than the past. So there's this tension that's happening all month long. And then, as the sun leaves Capricorn, it goes into Aquarius on January 19th. It goes into that part of your chart where Saturn is. So, from the end of the month, you're doing a lot of that deep emotional, psychological reflection, heavy lifting. It's also maybe even looking at finances as well. I will say, Cancer, if you've been putting off dealing with your financial life, when Saturn is in this room in your house, you want to look at your books. You want to get organized. You want to look at debt. You want to look at your statements and balances. You want to talk to a financial planner. You want to get a will. I know when I say will, people get freaked out, but I don't know. I'm a Scorpio. You got to plan for the future and even, something beyond. So that said, I just kind of want to put these things on your radar. There's going to be a full moon on the 28th of January. This full moon is going to activate a part of your chart that's about money, income, how you earn it, how you spend it, material stability. That said, it's putting a lot of stress and pressure on some things in your chart. You're not in the same place as some of the other signs. I think your Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius are really kind of in the and getting a lot of pressure in January. But that said, January for everybody is really pushing us into a new time, and a time when we have to make some sort of necessary change. It could be a structural change, it could be a system change, it could be an emotional change, it could be a relationship change. So just so you can kind of plan ahead, Cancer, I know that you feel things very deeply and you want things to kind of stay even keel in the same, but that's unfortunately not the theme this month. So that said, Cancer, be well, be safe, take care of yourself, get a lot of nurturing, get a lot of grounding. Make sure you have good friends nearby. That said, see you next month. Bye.